Woo! Hopefully that wasn't too much of a visual inconvenience. Someone called me and this phone, automatically discontinues recording. Anyway, from here, you got your pin out, and I think what I was doing is showing you the difference in the shape, like that, and it can only go in one way. So I mean, you'll figure it out, kind of thing. But for visuals here, if you're holding it with the back end here is facing upwards, the side with the little notch cut in here will be more towards the center. So like that. And again, it only fits in one way, so you can't really get it wrong. But if you're having trouble with it and then you get frustrated or something, you don't want to throw your prized possession. Anyway, so that is pretty much completely disassembled. You can take off the rear sight by sliding it, right to left, but you kind of need a tool for that. And you can actually replace your front sight. Let's see, there's a little hex whatnot in there. And yeah, so that's the upper or the slide assembly. Now let's get to the fun part, the part that really frustrated me and probably is frustrating you if you're looking for this on a video here. So I'm not going to get to the magazine release and stuff like that, but I'm going to get to the majority of the parts that you might experience problems with or need to replace, or I mean, I don't think you ever really need to replace them, but parts do break, and Glock is not invincible. No company is, nothing is, so parts will break. So I'll start off with like the little piddly stuff that you can pretty much do at any time, which is kind of like only one thing that so maybe I'm exaggerating, but you can take out the takedown pin at any time and also replace it at any time. So all you do is you take down one side, right, and then you literally just push down with something and then push it through. You can push it down with your finger, right, and it's got to be at an angle though, otherwise the spring will hold it in place in the middle. So I just push it through while pushing down on it and kind of at an angle. And there's a little spring in there, so get your thumb there, prepared. Now when you replace this, you might wonder, like, what I do to my gun to break it. You want as you can see, there's a little lip here, right here, if it would ever focus. And, oh wow, I am sorry. This little lip right here, see how it curves in? That's what you want facing towards your face if you were holding the gun in its natural position. You want that to face, because that's what captures the the slide and makes it to where it doesn't go past a certain point. So that's that. And we'll put that, and there's a little spring inside. Take that out there, right there. Take it out with most anything. You can probably just tap it out if you had to. Don't lose that spring. Very important. Your gun will not function without that spring. It's funny how like a little part can determine if your gun works or not. But it's okay. So this is the part that got me, and it was really frustrating, and I couldn't figure out exactly how to do it, right? And I apologize if I'm holding it like this a lot, because I'm standing straight to my table like this, but this is how it looks straight to the video, and I'm kind of standing weird to me if it's like that. So you want to put your frame on a sort of stable surface. You want to use your pointer finger right here to kind of apply downward pressure, and then you also want to use your thumb here to kind of work this. And you're kind of going to work in a circular motion, and you can get this finger right here, and you want to work in a circular motion, kind of pulling back, pushing forward, lifting up, and pushing down, just like in a circular motion until this pin kind of wiggles loose. And it's not like a jiggling motion, like a fast jiggling motion. It's kind of like a smooth, I don't know what to call it, and you want to go, from what I've heard, I don't think it really matters, but from what I've heard, you want to go from the left to the right, so the pin would go exit this way to the right. exit stage right. Anyway, so pushing gently on the pin down, you kind of swivel. Let's see. And with my particular gun, it kind of helps, and I'm not doing this too smoothly. I was trying to practice it last night. It kind of helps. You have to kind of reset it sometimes. Push it back in. Because once there are lines in the pin. Let's see if I have a pin to show you before. Like, let's say this was the pin here, right? There are multiple lines in the pin that kind of keep things in there under tension, so the pin doesn't fall out during shooting. So it's intentional, and it's made to kind of captivate the, see right there. So I'm just kind of going like this inside of here while I'm pushing. So I'm like, if I were just to hold this aside and then just move my hand how I'm moving, it'd be like this, like that. So I push that pin out, and nothing's gonna fall out, but you don't want to lose the pin. So you can just kind of pull it. And I noticed there are two little lines. Let's see if you can see this. Focus. There are two little lines on one side. And again, I don't know if that matters. If it maybe the pin is a little bit narrower on this side than it is on this side. But on my particular gun, my Glock 42, I put the lines facing this way, so it would sit like this in the gun. And it works fine. Pushes in and pulls out just fine. Throw that pin in there. Then you can take out your, what is it, the block. I can't think of what it's called. But you can kind of get under here. And this right here is basically what interacts with your slide and locks it into place. So you want to pull up. And it's kind of tight. At least it is on mine. I don't know if it's looser on some other people's guns, because I don't have other people's guns. I have mine. Let's see how it slides up. And this part is seems like it's a really good quality metal. And reinsertion is easy. Now when we reassemble this needs to go in first. This is the slide stop lever. If you need a better, closer look at it. And there is a captive spring in the 42 model. So these parts can be set aside. We're getting there. Okay, these rails, I'm sure they can be replaced, but I think if you were to replace these rails here, you'd pretty much just be needing to replace the frame, because I don't know, I don't see much. They seem to be like not glued, but kind of molded into place, and I don't think those would come out without some severe modification. Anyway, so let's get down to nearly the last step that I'm going to show you, and that's this little pin here in the back. Upon first inspection, at least to my eyes, I looked in there and I'm like, is that like a fake pin? Because when you look in there, it doesn't look like it's actually holding anything, but it's just because the tolerances are so tight that it looks like there's nothing actually, it's not holding anything. So at this point, you can lift up on the, what is it, not the extractor, the ejector? I can't remember what the part's called. Anyway, you can lift up here and, you know, be gentle with it. It's durable, but you know, there's no reason to be hard on it. And except for the magazine release, which you can kind of see down there, you can just fiddle with this little spring right there. I believe, I've never taken it out on this particular Glock, or but I believe you just push it to the right and then up. But I could be wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong on that. But you know, if you want to change your magazine release, I might do that in a future video. But because I've yet to get that out, or wanted to get that out. But pretty much this is what I would consider the frame as a single piece, even though there are still numerous pieces of the frame. But this is disassembled. The most that I think I would disassemble, unless I was replacing the magazine catch. Anyway, so that can be set aside, and then you get your trigger assembly here. And I don't know how this pin would come out, like, or if it does, maybe it's a magnet, I don't know. But again, this is like one of those parts like where if it's that messed up, I would think you just buy the entire unit. You know, the linkage rod or the bar and the trigger itself as one piece maybe. But yeah, so here's your little trigger with the little spring in there and a little pivot point. And so what you can do here is you notice there's a little spring down there. And this is the second or third part that I'm really not familiar with. And I haven't had the urge to learn more about it just yet. But when I do, I will put it on video for you guys to see. But there's like this little flat spring right here. And I kind of prematurely took it off. So you push down on it, and then you notice it kind of releases, and then you kind of not twist it to where like you're bending anything, but you kind of just twist it and work its way out, and kind of there's a groove right there, that little dark spot that this right here locks into, and you'll see it when we start the reassembly process, and then you can take the same tool. I chose a tool that was small so we can do all the fun stuff. And there's this little tab you can push back, right, and slide the flat spring out. So if you needed to replace that, that's all there is to that. A very small part. And then you can also easily, I might have chose the wrong tool for this, but if you have a little flathead screwdriver like this, I think you can just pull it out, but you can push that. And this metal part comes out, and let me see if I can get it out. No. Let me, do I have a small flathead on hand? If I don't, you get the point. I'm still searching on my table, my abyss of tools. I do really want to show you this, so I guess I'll turn it here. Okay, this will work. So a little eyeglass screwdriver, right? Just push it out, and it should come out pretty easy. So I'm pushing. There it is. There's that. If you need to replace that for any reason, that's how to get that out. And then this last little part right here, or it's a little spring and then like a little thing. I'm pretty sure you just kind of take that little thing out, and then a lot of people were confused about this, how there's two different positions here. And from what I know, this this top position is just to aid in disassembly, and it's not like a separate or a second position for different trigger pulls or different trigger weights or whatever. From what I've heard, I could be wrong about that. But then there's a spring in here. See that? And a little captive thing, and then this little metal thing. But again, this is like one of those parts where, unless you were assembling it from just this piece, and then you bought these parts individually, this is kind of the thing that you kind of just keep together, in my opinion. But again, if I do end up needing to take this apart or taking this apart for any reason, I will put it on video, or I guess if enough people request it. But so that, in my opinion, is pretty much the entire gun. There's your gun. Okay, so now this might look like a daunting task for some people, but it's really not. So let's get to the reassembly process. Let's start with the slide, since everybody likes working on slides because they're super easy and they're satisfying. They got a nice come get your dinner bell sound to it. Okay, so you set your, actually that's way too premature to do that. Let's start over here. Okay, here's your basic slide stuff. And again, the sights are not really part of the cleaning. Okay, so you want your spring with the detent, and there are two different sides to this. There are the sort of flatter, thicker side, and this sort of like a firing pin looking side. And if you notice, it actually fits. I'm trying to do this like right on there, right? So the side with the more solid piece of metal, if that's kind of a weird way to describe that, but the springy side goes towards the back, and then the more metally side goes towards the extractor. That's actually what holds the extractor in place. So You don't want to put it all the way in just yet. You want to kind of put it out of the way, but put it in there. Get it prepared. And again, you want your, whatever the hell this thing is, to have that little notch facing towards the middle. Okay? Slide that in there. Make sure it can be pressed down. And if you notice, when I press that down, it exposes a little area for the extractor to kind of sit in place there. So we will put that extractor in place. Kind of just drop it in there and let go of that little silver piece, and it is in there. It's not in there 100% yet, but it's in there enough to where you can let it go. Now you can get to your striker. Slide that beast down in there all the way until it will go no further, and then you'll actually notice that it actually can go further in, and you press down on this little part, and then we'll get to that step. We'll take your little back plate, right? And we will, this you can do with your little tool here, but you press down on this with one of your fingers, and then you kind of slide it in as much as you can. And if your fingers are bigger, you might want to use a tool, maybe the back of whatever said tool you're working with. My fingers are a little bit too big. So I guess if you have child-sized hands, you could do that. See, notice how that kind of just barely sits on there, but it's enough to hold the striker down, right? So I was sliding in this way. And now you notice something's in the way, right? And that something is the detent that we will next press down. And then as soon as that's down far enough, you'll notice you can slide this forward a little bit more. When you hear that snap, you're good to go. That's on there. That's not coming off anytime soon unless you want it to. This is basically the completed, in terms of the inner workings, it's completed again. But let's take it a step further. Put that nice satisfying barrel in there, right? Okay. Set it all the way down there so where it's flush with the top of the receiver or slide or whatever you want to call it, upper. Then you want to take your captive spring, place it in the hole first, push up with your thumb, or down if you're holding it this way for some reason. But push towards the front of the muzzle, and then you want to go all the way. And on the 42, I don't know if it's the same for all of them, but on the 42 specifically, there's a little half moon circle here, and you want to get it all the way down there. And it's pretty stiff, but you want it to be stiff. You want it to be good quality parts there. And that is a completed upper. We will set that over there. Let's get down to the lower frame. So again, this part can be placed on at any time. And if you remember what I said, I don't know, roughly 10 minutes ago or something like that, you want the lip to be facing towards you, the shooter. So you want that spring to go down there, okay? And then you want to put it in an angle to where you're kind of pivoting it, the spring down, like kind of working it down. And this it goes in crazy easy. You can literally just hold your thumb there kind of as a guide and slide it forward, and it'll pop into place. That is that. It is done. That is complete. We will move on to the trigger stuff that we disassembled earlier. So you want to get your little back of the gun portion, the trigger bar, this little flat plate, this murder axe, and yeah, I think those are all the parts that you need for now. So you want to put your the murder axe in first. It's a futuristic murder axe. Till it's all the way down. You can use a table or a flat surface to kind of make sure it's all the way flush to the back of there. And so that's that. Then you want your flat spring / whatever the hell this thing does. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of people correct me as that's the modulator plate, but that's okay. I want to be corrected. I want to learn more about this, but I'd like people to be nice. I like nice people. Anyway, so you just slide that on down, and you can just kind of grip it like this. Push gently but firmly down to where it's all the way seated. And, you know, it's a spring again. And this is where I was talking like you kind of pivot it in. So you kind of work the top section first to kind of line it up with where it needs to go. And then kind of twist it in. But not with a lot of force there, because, I mean, I'm sure you could bend that. It might be hard to do, but I'm sure some people have bent that before. So try to avoid that. And then there's your little trigger assembly. You can then set this back down into the gun with the trigger first, and then this thing second. It just slides into place. And that super complicated looking little area, which you just saw how simple it was, is back together. You want to make sure this little pin gets back in there, and you don't forget that, because some bad things can probably happen if that's not present in the gun. I don't know, maybe it'll work without it. Might be a good video for experiment people that like to break their guns on video. And the trigger just kind of sits there. You want to make sure that that hole, that you can see through it all the way. And this is the step that you can't forget. You have to put this in before if you want a slide stop. I'm sure it'd be fine without one. But if you like your slide to lock back on the last shot, you definitely need that in there. I think that's pretty essential if you like that feature of your gun. You don't have to get that part perfect. You just want to make sure it's kind of, there's a little guide. I'm kind of doing this off camera, but there's a little circle spot that you'll see in here that kind of mimics the shape of the spring and the area it goes into. Right down in there, and you'll notice it fits in there quite nicely. But it doesn't have to be perfect at this point. It can, you don't have to see all the way through it. You can see it's kind of overlapping the hole a little bit there. But just enough to where it's in there. So when you put this block in, it is there. So just slide that down. Slides in nice and smooth. And you take your final pin, and I don't know if I recommend this, but I'm going to, some people probably will have some reason why not to do this, but I'm going to use these lines as my reference point as to which side is which, and go from the right to the left all the way through the gun, and then you'll hear a nice satisfying little, or you'll feel rather, a nice little click, and then you want to kind of work the slide lock again to where it's flush, not flush, but able to be pushed all the way through the pin. So, and you can just kind of push it until it clicks into place. And that's a nice little satisfying click, and make sure everything works on your gun. You can then put this slide assembly back on the gun, and if this is a good thing to note, but if you put this little lock thing on backwards, you'll notice that your gun will only go to about right there, or about to right there, I think. And I thought, I did that once, and I was like, why won't my gun go back together? And I thought it was this thing, and I took it all apart and rebuilt it. I'm like, there's no way I could build this thing wrong. And it was just that one little part, and I figured it out. And anyway, just pull back to where it locks back into place. If you want to check your chamber, you can, but I'm pretty sure that it's impossible to get around in there unless you physically put it in there. But if you got a bad memory, I'd say check your chamber always. It's a good thing to do. I question myself sometimes, so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to check the chamber. It's clear. And then like 2 seconds later, I'll forget. And I'm like, I'm going to check the chamber. And then, another second will pass. I'm like, I want to check the chamber. Anyway, so yeah, it's clear. And you can dry fire it all you want. Since it's a center fire or striker fire, pistol. Yeah. Anyway, so I hope that video helped you out, and if you are like me and you want your gun to be a gun, you can reinsert your magazine with bullets in it, because that's not dangerous until you pull that slide back and, so I'm sure someone's going to be like, you shouldn't insert that magazine. It's like, how's that slide going to work itself? Anyway, so be confident, and be smart. Respect your firearm. They are not toys, but they can be fun, but they're also very useful in a lot of situations. But be smart, be safe, and I hope this video helped you out. Have a good day.